Welcome. In the last unit of Module 2, we looked at different kinds of nonverbal communication, the importance and function of nonverbal communication. In this unit, I'm going to share some tips with you as to how to improve your body language. So, I will not go into all forms of nonverbal communication that we discussed in the last unit, but I'd focus largely on 9 interpersonal skills, focusing on body language, and show you how you can improve your body language. We will look at eye communication, facial expression, posture and movement, gesture, dress and appearance, voice and delivery, non-words, and paralanguage. So let's begin with eye communication. So first of all, we need to check certain conceptions about eye behavior. First of all, I need to ask you, do you look at others when you're talking to them or listening to them? Where do you look at all at people when you're speaking or listening to them? Now, I must narrate a very amusing incident here again, that in traditional Indian society, you're not supposed to look at your elders, or you're not supposed to, a man is not supposed to look at a woman when they are talking to a woman, or a woman is not supposed to look at a man when she's talking to a man, or you're not supposed to look at an elder in the eye. So you don't normally look at people when you're speaking to someone of the opposite sex, or you're talking to someone who's elder than you, because it's considered inappropriate to look at them when if they are elder than you, and people say, look, this person is so disrespectful, he or she was looking at me in the eye, he has no respect for elders. So what I'm saying is that, as with every other form of communication, every aspect of your body language also is culturally coded. What may be appropriate may be inappropriate in another culture. What may be appropriate in Western cultures might be actually inappropriate in traditional Indian cultures, as I just explained to you. But again, as I said, in the workplace, we follow the norms which are laid down by the Western world, and we follow those rules. And according to in the Western world, when you talk to people or you listen to people, you're supposed to look at them. And a person who doesn't look at you is considered either a very nervous person or considered a very unreliable or shifty person. So according to the rules made by the Western world, when you speak to someone, you listen to someone, you must look at that person. If you don't look, you're seen as someone who's not trustworthy. Where do you look when you're speaking? The next thing is, where do you look when you're speaking or listening to others? We'll come to this, but again, I'll recount an anecdote which I came across in a textbook from memory about differences in culture as far as eye communication is concerned. And Indians are not the only ones who regard looking at elders in the eye as disrespectful, but there are other cultures across the world, as in this example that I'm going to illustrate to you. There was apparently a theft in a departmental store or a supermarket or a mart in the US. And when the police tried to inquire into the theft, they suspected a young Latino girl who was 16 years old. Now, the reason why they suspected this girl was, one can think of any or number of reasons, but one of the reasons that the police officer cited for suspecting this young girl of having stolen was that she did not look at him in the eye when she was speaking to him, and that made him suspect that she was the culprit. Now, fortunately for the young woman, the manager of that store also happened to be from the same culture, that is, he was Hispanic, and he was the one who took the trouble to explain to the police officer that just not looking at somebody in the eye was not an evidence of her complicity in the crime, because as a well brought up Latino girl or a Hispanic girl, she was not expected to look at elders in the eye. So fortunately for the young girl, having a manager from her own culture rescued her from a very serious charge. But this can happen to anyone, and this shows that rules related to eye communication vary. And the Western world, if you don't meet someone, look at someone, you're considered unreliable or untrustworthy. Now the next thing is, where do you look when you're speaking or listening to others? Where do you look? When I ask people, where do you look? Those who say that they look at people when they are speaking or listening to them, when I ask them, where do you look? They are not very sure about where they look. Usually people say, I look at people in the eye. But you observe yourself. Try doing this exercise. Talk to someone and tell me, try to recall when you're talking to someone or listening to someone, where do you look at them? Which part? And do you always look at them in the eye? I don't think so. We don't look at people in the eye all the time when we are talking or listening to them. We do look at them occasionally in the eye, but not all the time. So where do you look? Now again, like the zones related to space, which are business zone, social zone and intimate zone, with respect to eye communication also we have similar rules, that when you look at a person, when you're speaking or listening to them, it's okay for you to look at them anywhere on the face. So each of us has their own spot. Some of us look at the lips, maybe because we're reading, maybe we are reading the lip language, we're lip reading. Some of us look at maybe a particular part of the cheek, somebody looks at the forehead, somebody looks at the eyebrow. So you need to find out your spot. You need to find out which spot it is where you look, and anywhere on the face is okay, anywhere from the forehead to the chin is okay. But when you look at somebody when you look at someone below the chin, I mean normally in the business zone, when your relationship with someone is very informal, you are expected to look at them only between the head and the nose, not go below the nose. So that's the business gaze. When you are looking at, you can look at someone anywhere between the head up to the nose. So suppose you are when you are in an interaction in your workplace, it's you are expected to observe the business gaze and look at people anywhere from the head to the nose. Now, like in the spatial distance, if you meet the same person in a social gathering, suppose even if it's someone who's senior to you, you meet them in a social gathering. In a social gathering or a party, there you are able to cross that zone and you may look at them anywhere between the nose and the chin. So that's the social zone. However, if you look at a person below the chin, that's considered, people start looking very uncomfortable. If someone stares at you below the chin, someone keeps staring at you when you're talking to them or listening to them below the chin, they feel offended, they feel very uncomfortable because you are intruding into their intimate or personal zone. Next we come to looking in the eyes. It's not that we don't look at people in the eyes when we are talking to them or listening to them. We do look at them in the eyes, but how long do we look is very important. When you look at people in the eyes, you look at them and then you look away. You look at them in the eyes and then you look away. You look at some other part. You don't look at them continuously in the eye. So this looking at people in the eye is called eye contact. Now, how long do you make eye contact when you look at others? That's very important. Some of us do not make eye contact at all. As I said, in certain cultures, we are not trained to make eye contact. It's considered rude or inappropriate to make eye contact, particularly with elders or members of the opposite sex. So people don't make eye contact at all. But in other places where people do make eye contact, or individuals who do make eye contact, the problem lies in the length of the eye contact. Some of us make eye contact. I myself find myself doing it, particularly when I'm looking at the camera, because I have a problem with the glare. I find that my eyes are inadvertently closing. So when I'm looking at the camera, I find that I'm myself violating the rules related to eye contact, because any eye contact less than 5 seconds gives you the look of a scared rabbit. It looks like you have an eye dart. Your eyes are darting from one point to the other. Now in my case, my eyes are darting not because I don't know the rules, but because the glare is hurting my eyes, and I cannot help it because it's a problem with the eyes. I cannot do anything. But other people do it because they're not careful to make eye contact for long enough. You must make eye contact for at least 5 seconds, otherwise you will be guilty of eye dart. You look like a scared rabbit, like you look here, look here. You don't make contact at all. The other is the eye slow blink. If you exceed 5 seconds, 5 to 45 seconds is the ideal limit of eye contact. If you make eye contact with somebody for more than 45 minutes, the other person again starts feeling uncomfortable. When is the situation? Think of the situations where you made eye contact with a person for more than 45 minutes. Think of the situations. One situation could be somebody has done something wrong. You don't use words, but you just stare at them in the eye for more than 45 minutes and 45 seconds, sorry, and that person gets the message that you are very angry with them. Or it can be a more happy situation. Think of your gazing lovingly into somebody's eyes for more than 45 seconds. What is the effect you produce if you look at somebody for more than 45 seconds? In Hindi film language, aankhon hi aankhon mein ishara ho gaya. People gaze and they say a lot of things by gazing into each other's eyes. There's a completely coded language in the tasawwur, the Arab discourse, where the direction of the gaze, the length of the gaze are used to communicate meaning between lovers. However, in the workplace, we don't want that effect. We don't want the effect of intimacy, which might be the effect that lovers want in the Hindi film. Nor do we want the effect of intimidation by staring at someone in the eye for more than 45 seconds. But what we want is involvement. And for involvement, you need anything between 5 to 45 seconds. Just remember that. Beware of eye dart, beware of slow blink. Some of us, when we are listening to other people, we close our eyes for a brief second. Now that gives the impression that we are not interested in what that person is saying. So again, we should watch out for slow blink. Angle of eye incidence. This is very important. When we are looking at people, say a group of people, now it's impossible for you to look at 10 people or even 3 people. So if there are 3 people and you focus on the person sitting in the center, the people on the left and the right will also think that you are looking at them. Or you can rotate your eye contact by moving from one person to the other. Or when you are making a presentation, you move your eyes, make eye contact with one person in the group for a few seconds, then move on to another person, and this way make eye contact with everyone in the room. Next, we come to facial expression. That's another important element in body language. Now, what is the impression you want to convey? The face is a very important means of communicating non-verbally. Professional actors, if you watch them, you will find that just by a twerk of the eyebrow or just a curl of the lip, even in more serious situations, think of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan in Kaun Banega Crorepati, and how a turn of the gaze, of the eyes, the direction of the gaze, a hint of a smile or a curl of the lip would give some kind of clue, which was very carefully calibrated by Mr. Bachchan to show how this little thing could convey a lot of meaning to not only to the viewers but also to the participant, who would who would try to guess what he was trying to convey. But what is in general your facial expression? What is the impression you want to convey? Do you smile? I mean, do you want to appear friendly, or do you want to appear formidable? Do you want to appear like someone who people are afraid to approach? So, do you smile at others? Do you want to appear like a friendly person? Do you smile at others? Or you don't smile at all? So, people who are smiling appear like friendly people. People who don't smile don't appear like friendly people. Some people are always smiling, some people never smile, and some people, so what is the problem? Some people who are always smiling, it's very difficult for them to get authority, because if you are smiling all the time, you appear so friendly that you are unable to tick off a person, or you are unable to discipline a person. So, it's always smiling may be a very happy thing, but it may not be an ideal thing, because it may not convey the right amount of seriousness on the part. On the other hand, your doer, which is what business people are trained to, professionals are trained to do, that never smile at all, keep a glum face, keep a poker face, so that people can't guess what are your real feelings. Now that makes you appear very unfriendly. So what should you do? It's not a question of smiling or not smiling. You must use the right kind of, you must know when to smile and when not to smile. So when you are congratulating a young person, if you don't smile, they don't believe that you are congratulating them. Or when you are commiserating or you are reassuring a person, if your facial expression doesn't show, doesn't carry that reassurance, it doesn't help at all. Whereas if you are trying to discipline a person, you are smiling, that doesn't help. So you must know how to use your facial expression to convey the right impression about yourself. So let's look at some of these languages here. Anger, posture and movement. Let's next come to posture and movement. Posture says it all. We think that posture has nothing to do with our communication, but it says a lot about your personality. When we are looking at posture, you must look at your upper body as well as your lower body. Now, with the upper body, what is the right posture? I'll give you two examples to show how posture can be ingrained in a group of people, or ingrained in a certain kind of professional. So I'm thinking of two postures, the posture of a soldier and the posture of a dancer, which appear very attractive. So the posture of a soldier is that of a very confident person, of a very alert person. The posture of a dancer is of a very elegant, very graceful person. Now what do they have in common? The soldier, if you look at the army manuals, what is the soldier expected to do? The soldier must have his ears in line with his shoulder, straight line. So that's the upright, erect posture for a soldier. Shoulders square, ears in straight line with shoulders. That's the posture that a soldier is expected to maintain. And this was the training given to soldiers in the British Army, in the Imperial Army, or European, in the Western world. A soldier should keep his head upright, shoulders square, and ears should be in line with the shoulders. So if you watch today, if you, how do you guess a person is an army man and not a civilian? Their posture says it all. You will find that they have an excellent posture. You don't have to wait to see the crew cut to know that somebody is from the Indian Army or Indian Air Force. If you watch their posture, you know this person is an army person, this person is a soldier. And the trace of these habits which were ingrained in warriors or soldiers, particularly by Europeans, they are so deeply ingrained that you will find that they carry over even after generations. So I'm going to take the body of the soldier as it's mapped on the body of the male Sikh. If you see a Sikh anywhere in the world, even if the Sikh has shown their hair, they have cut their hair and they are Mona Sikhs, you can guess this young person is a Sikh or an old person is a Sikh, because that habit as a warrior community, that habit of holding the shoulders in straight line with the ears and the shoulders square, the body thrust out in a position of confidence, hands loosely hanging by the side, that impression of confidence. So these young men I meet on the streets of Melbourne or Sydney or Toronto or Munich, I find from their postures I can guess which part of India they are from, and they are not very confident because many of them are immigrants, many of them are looking for jobs, but they are not exactly very confident people, but from their posture they appear as if they have no care in the world and they can take on the world squarely. So this is the body of the soldier, which is an example of a perfect posture, very stiff but very perfect. The other posture is that of a dancer, and this is what I remember the famous dancer Dr. Padma Subramaniam telling us about what is the first step in teaching dance or Bharatanatyam. So she said that the first step to learning how to dance in Bharatanatyam is to learn to stand. Of course, all of us stand. So what's the problem? The problem is that our posture is not right. So the first thing a Bharatanatyam dancer is told to do is to learn to correct the posture. And what is the correct posture again in Bharatanatyam? It's the ears should be in straight line with the shoulders. So like the body of the posture of the soldier, the posture of the dancer also follows the same rule, that the ears should be in straight line with the shoulders. Now that creates the impression of confidence, of grace, elegance. You're standing tall, that's your upper body. Now what's the problem? The problem is that many of us with the upper body, we tend to stoop, particularly those among us who were very tall. And this is a case of frozen posture, in the sense that if you were the tallest kid in your class when you were in class 5, you continue to stoop because you have a stoop, because all other children in your class were much lower than you, and you tried to come down to their level by stooping to make yourself accepted in the group. Now by the end of class 10, everyone had shot up, and maybe they were taller than you, and yet you have your stoop because you think you are taller than them. So a stoop makes you appear very nervous, it makes you appear less confident, it doesn't create the impression of you being a confident person. And you would notice, if you look at people around you who are not very conscious, very confident about themselves, or not confident about their body shape, you will find that their shoulders are slumped, they stoop. We are talking about males and females, and that creates the impression of not being confident. Now come to your lower body. When we are not confident, we tend to lean either on the left leg or on the right leg. So this is called left lean or right lean. But what are you expected to do? You are expected to put equal weight on both your feet. What happens is that sometimes we watch film actors, models who deliberately lean on one side to strike a pose, and we also find ourselves doing it. We are in a group of people and we think it's very stylish to put one's weight on one side of the body. But what happens is that when you're nervous, when you're not confident, when you're under stress, you tend to shift your weight from one side to the other, and it's very distracting. Particularly when you're making a presentation, you're shifting your weight from one side to the other, which is very distracting. So do not watch yourself when you're standing in a group. Just watch, do you lean on left or right leg? Just find out which is your lean, which lean do you have. Do you find yourself leaning on your left side, or you find yourself leaning on the right side? Ask your friends to observe, because you may not notice it. What you need to do is use the ready position. What is that? Your weight is equally distributed on both feet, and you're slightly inclining forwards. Your weight is on your, not on your heels, but on the front part of your feet, on the toes. So that's the ready position. And the same rule goes about movement, that the movement says a lot about you, the way you carry yourself. Apart from the posture, the way you walk. One is not expecting you to be a ramp walker and walk like a model, but how you walk conveys a lot about your personality. So you have to find your own style. Now we come to gestures. Again, like with smiling and facial expression, with gestures also the problem is find out your habits. Some of us gesture a lot, and some of us don't gesture at all. My feeling is that this is also culturally conditioned, because in some cultures people tend to gesture more than in other cultures. I find that maybe Westerners tend to gesture more than Indians, and I came to this conclusion by watching, say, news channels or talk shows on English language television, English language channels, and those in Indian languages, and I found that people in the Indian language channels tend to gesture much less than those on English language channels, because they tend to follow the body language of Westerners when they speak. When you speak English, you tend to imitate the body language of Westerners, and you tend to gesture more than when you're speaking Indian languages. In Indian languages, when we're speaking Indian languages, we don't use our hands gestures as much as we do when we are speaking English. We tend to use more of our voice and modulation rather than gesture to emphasize meaning. So on one hand, you have people who don't gesture at all, and they come across as very wooden, very stilted. On the other hand, you have people who gesture all the time. Now that also is very irritating, it's very distracting. If you watched any entertainment channel, say music television, you will find these young VJs, as they are called, you will find that they gesture a lot, and women tend to gesture much more than men. Now why is it that they gesture a lot? In their case, they have been deliberately trained to gesture, to use gesture, because what's the idea? They have to create the effect of intimacy, as if they are your friendly neighborhood young man. So somebody is talking to you as if he or she is your friend and you know them very well, and because of that, if you use gesture on television, then it creates this impression of friendliness or directness and immediacy. And that's why you will find on entertainment channels, young VJs tend to gesture a lot, particularly young women. So it's also gendered. Women tend to gesture more than men. Men tend to gesture less. And whenever you see a man gesturing more than what you expect a man to gesture, you find it odd. Whereas a woman doesn't gesture, you again think it's very cold. So there is this gendered aspect also. So you tell me, do you gesture a lot or not at all? Find out. Similarly, where do your hands go when you're nervous? When you're nervous, what happens to our hands? Either we put our hands in our pocket, or we start playing with our hands, or we put our hands behind our back. So each of us need to find our nervous gestures. What do we do when we are nervous? What happens to our hands? Are the part of the body which show our nervousness more. So how much gesture is appropriate? That is, you have to use your own judiciousness. Use gesture to complement, not to substitute. When you find that gesture enhances what you're saying, so suppose you're showing a direction, over there, out, down there, maybe a gesture is important. Or I don't know, you shrug your shoulders, maybe it has more impact than just saying I don't know. But let's do an exercise to show how gesture not only adds meaning but also adds impact to your vocal delivery. Now let me talk to you. My name is Anjali Gera Roy. I teach in IIT Kharagpur. I've been teaching here for quite some time, and I've been teaching this course on communication for quite some time, and I hope that I'll be able to share some tips on communication with you. Now, My name is Anjali Gera Roy. I have been teaching in IIT Kharagpur for more than quarter of a century, and I hope that my experience of teaching communication in IIT Kharagpur would help you improve your own communication skills. So you see how relaxed I was when I could put my hands in front and use gesture as opposed to the first time. Let's do another activity. So shall we stop the class? Yes or no? No. Okay. So say no. I want to hear you say no. No? I'm not going to stop the class. You have to say it with more impact. So say no. Okay, I'm going to stop the class. Did you see the difference in the first no and the second no? The second no was more impactful. So even my vocal message got enhanced because I use gesture. You can't over exaggerate. So learn to use gesture judiciously. Now I stop with dress and appearance. What is, again, in dress and appearance is the same rule. What is appropriate and what is not appropriate is more important than what is being attractive and not being attractive. There's no right or wrong way of dressing. I will go into the details of dress and appearance in the next unit because I have a number of things to discuss in both dress and appearance and voice and delivery. So I'll stop here and I'll continue in the next unit where we will share some tips with you on how to dress appropriately, and then we'll move on to voice and delivery.